Welcome to All About Art. My name is Alexandra, and I'm an art historian, curator, and writer. Within this podcast, topics relating to art history, cultural policy, the art sector, as well as a large range of other art-related topics will be covered. Conducting critical discussions, having entertaining exchanges, or just enjoying some relaxing chats, All About Art is where you'll find it all. Join me in exploring and developing cultural discourse. Welcome to another episode of All About Art. This episode is going to be a really fun one, but even more so if you're someone who is at the beginning of your career in the arts. I'm going to be talking about the Venice Biennale, but more specifically in the context of working for it. If you're currently listening in as an early career arts professional, this could be really interesting for you. If you're not living in the UK, this one may be a little bit less relevant, but I actually hope that it may inspire you to look into an equivalent opportunity wherever you may be based. If you're listening in and you're not at the beginning of your arts career, I do implore you to keep listening though, because hey, maybe this could be a jumping off point for a collaboration or inspire some other potential ways that we can work together to support the next generation of arts professionals. Or maybe it's an episode that will give you more insights into the opportunities and possibilities in our wonderful sector. So some context before I get ahead of myself. Last year, just around a year ago exactly, to be precise, like we just celebrated our 1-year anniversary, I launched NextGen together with AWITA, which stands for the Association of Women in the Arts. NextGen is a membership platform for emerging arts professionals within the first 5 years of their career. So any gender, any background, any age. Whether you're graduating from a humanities degree or pivoting from a different sector into the arts, we have resources to support you in doing that. We've put together a really strong program of online and in-person events. Around 80% of our events are online so that we can kind of decentralize it from London a little bit and make it more accessible to people in the UK in general, or even, in Europe or the States, depending on where the time zones kind of allow you to be able to participate. We've even had someone tune in from Hong Kong in the past, which has been amazing. And so far, we've had multiple reports of people not only growing their network and knowledge base, but also getting internships and jobs because of our platform, which is everything that I could wish for in achieving what I want to achieve with this. I mean, yesterday I got a message from one of our members and she said, "Hey Alexandra, I just wanted to let you know that I recently left my old job for a new one, and the team at the new company told me that having NextGen on my CV was really huge for them, and they see it as a growth move to be in a network like this. They said it's what made me stand out against other applicants." And if that's not like the dreamiest message to receive, I don't know what is. And the way that this all came about is because through this podcast, and because of you lovely listeners, I wanted to make an impact offline alongside the resources I create here on this platform. I started doing live networking events, and some of you tuning in may have been to the ones that I did at Unit London or the big all-day conference that I organized at Burnson Bhattacharjee Gallery back in 2024. We're talking panel discussions, workshops, speed networking, the whole shebang. And I began a conversation with the phenomenal Sigrid Kirk, director of AWITA, after I put on that conference. AWITA's platform is specific to female identifying professionals in the arts who have been in the sector for at least 5 years. So that's kind of a qualifying benchmark that you need to have. And so it was extremely synergetic, and I feel like it was a really clear path forward to work together to create something for early career professionals. And that's how NextGen was born. The reason that I'm delving into the origins of NextGen is because it's important within the context of what I'm going to be talking about today on All About Art. Here on the podcast, my aim is to demystify the professional art sector through interviews with arts workers, and more recently, also through solo episodes where I share my perspective. We're seeing how that goes. I hope you guys are enjoying it. But yeah, it's been really fun for me to also do more research, write scripts, and delve into different things like exhibitions or different topics that I'm really interested in looking into, and not solely keeping it to interviews about people's careers. NextGen is like the actionable extension of the work that I do on here, creating actual opportunities for people to advance in their careers in the arts. So today, I'm going to be talking about the Venice Biennale. The reason that I'm going to be talking about it is Well, because we recently announced that NextGen is partnering with the British Council to send one of our members as a fellow on a month-long, fully funded residency to the Biennale between the months of May and November 2026. Why this is so special is because fellows spend half of their time working at the actual British Pavilion. They act as exhibition ambassadors, and they interact with visitors and support the exhibition. The other half of the time that they're in Venice can be dedicated to their own independent research or creative project, which should be inspired by the Biennale or Venice. So they not only receive a grant to cover their travel and living costs, but they also receive full training by the British Council, as well as mentorship and support by yours truly. All of this to say is that if you are an early career arts professional listening in, either you're a NextGen member already or you're interested in joining, I put the link in the show notes to all of the information of the application process, of what the fellowship entails, if you want to go check it out, because the deadline is November 21st, and I really hope to be receiving your applications. If anyone tuning in doesn't know much about the Biennale, or if you're not really interested in applying for the fellowship, not to worry, we've got a little bit more to delve into here. The Venice Biennale is one of the world's biggest and most important international art and culture events. It takes place every 2 years in Venice, oscillating between the art and the architecture biennales, and has been running since 1895. Yes, we're talking 130 years of art and architectural history. Sometimes it's even referred to as the Olympics of the art world. Countries from all over the world present their own exhibitions, often in national pavilions, which are in the two main exhibition locations, the Giardini and the Arsenale, which I think are maybe like a 10-minute walk away from each other. The Giardini is like a big garden, hence the name Giardini, with rows of different buildings that all correspond to the national pavilions of different countries. Walking through it feels like traveling the world in an afternoon. You've got the neoclassical British Pavilion to the modernist Nordic Pavilion, all these different architectural styles side by side, which makes sense because, as I mentioned, the Biennale Arte happens once every 2 years, and in between, the Architecture Biennale takes place. So they're quite intertwined. The Arsenale, which is a historic naval complex, so it has a really industrial feel, houses more of the main exhibition, but also has other national pavilion presentations within the space, either like in their own rooms or they have little allocated areas. So some national presentations have whole villas, like I said, like the British Pavilion or the Nordic Pavilion or the German Pavilion's really big. Some have a room or two, and some have something in between. There are also pavilions spread throughout the city in other locations. Like last year, for example, the Nigerian Pavilion was housed in the Palazzo Canal. I'm saying that in a very German accent, aren't I? But just to interject a quick fun fact there, Nigeria Imaginary, which was the theme of last year's Nigerian Pavilion, was curated by Andrea Emilife, who is a lovely board member of NextGen. So we're kind of coming full circle in a lot of ways here. Alongside all of that, there are a lot of auxiliary events and exhibitions that are happening all throughout the city during this time. Think major exhibitions or cool contemporary art installations in historic buildings and churches or public sculpture parks. But at its core, the Biennale is a powerful meeting point. Artists, curators, critics, and visitors from around the globe come together to experience contemporary culture. Now, here's something that people don't always talk about, but it's absolutely part of the Biennale experience. The opening week is completely wild. Like properly crazy from what I've been told. If you're going during that time, you're in for quite the spectacle, apparently. The festivities kick off with things like the annual Illy Brunch in Piazza San Marco, where they unveil these limited edition espresso cups designed by artists from the main show. And then the parties just don't stop, apparently. We're talking super yachts docked outside the Giardini, like literal floating palaces where collectors and gallerists throw receptions. There's this whole ecosystem of events happening. Lunches on yachts, cocktail parties in historic palazzos, late night gatherings that go until sunrise. At the last Biennale Arte, fashion designer Rick Owens threw a rave at an airport to celebrate Michel Lamy's 80th birthday. And people were genuinely taking taxi boats back to Venice with the rising sun. It was the talk of the entire next day. And the energy is just A lot, in both good and bad ways, from what I've heard. You've got galleries celebrating their artists at various venues around the city with like gorgeous backyard gardens or wonderful like places to eat or intimate bars where everyone's spilling out onto the narrow streets because there's just no more room inside. And the Aperol Spritz, it's basically the official drink of opening week, from what I've read, from the things that people have reported. You see people with them everywhere, paired with cicchetti, which are those little Venetian snacks. There's this amazing contradiction where you have these billion-pound artworks and deeply political exhibitions about urgent global issues. And then you also have this incredibly glamorous, almost surreal party atmosphere happening simultaneously. I've read articles about people playing Spot the Celebrity, trying to figure out who's a curator versus a critic versus a collector versus an artist based on their shoes and what kind of magazine they're holding. One of my favorite articles about this is written by Lydia R. Figes. And girl, please let me know if I've butchered your name or not. Sorry. Where she says, I quickly learned that the rule of thumb at the Venice Biennale is the better the cocktail party, the worse the art. And by the second evening, I find myself in a surreal situation, standing next to a Swedish royalty as I stuff my face with canapes and pretend to find the art on display intriguing. The cocktails were indeed excellent. But beyond rubbing shoulders with the rich, the art world is also shaped by impenetrable cohorts of institutional insiders and media in-crowds. Lofty, well-dressed academics, sleek-suited curators, and slightly scruffy yet cool critics who gaggle together holding the latest issue of Frieze. Doesn't that make you want to read more? I've put it in the show notes for you to read just in case you're interested. Echoing what Lydia wrote, the opening of the Biennale is chaotic and exhausting and absolutely thrilling all at once. You get art fatigue within like 48 hours, but in the best possible way. Keeping that in mind though, this is relating to the opening. The Biennale goes on for months. As I said earlier, it goes on from May to November. And after that first opening week, I think it calms down quite a bit. I personally am someone who always goes in August, for example. Now, I want to address and honor that the 2026 edition, which is when our fellowship will be happening, is titled In Minor Keys, and it was conceived by the late curator Koyo Kouoh, who passed away in May 2025, just days before she was scheduled to debut the title and theme of this coming edition. Koyo was a genuinely towering figure in the art world. She was the director of the Zeitz Museum of Contemporary Art Africa in Cape Town, and when she was appointed to curate the 2026 Biennale, she became the first African woman in that position in the Biennale's history. Her vision for In Minor Keys, the title references music, those sequences of notes often associated with melancholy or strangeness, but also with joy, solace, hope, and transcendence. She wrote about shifting to a slower gear, tuning into different frequencies. The minor keys, as she conceived them, are about listening, about emotional and sensory experiences, about creating space for quiet resistance through art. And it's grounded in a deep belief in artists as the vital interpreters of the social and psychic condition and catalysts of new relations and possibilities. The Biennale has decided to move forward with her exhibition as she planned it. Her curatorial team are realizing her vision with the full support of her family. They're working with the artists she selected, following the theoretical framework she developed, creating the show she spent the last months of her life dedicating herself to. So when you're at the Biennale in 2026, you'll be walking through Koyo Kouoh's vision. And if you're selected as our Next Gen Fellow, you'll have the extraordinary privilege of being part of that conversation, of witnessing how her ideas resonate with visitors from around the world. Bringing this episode to a close, one thing that I will urge everyone to do if you go to Venice is to bring mosquito spray, especially if you go in the warmer months, because those suckers will eat you alive if you aren't careful. Trust me, I'm speaking from experience. I usually go in August, which many people say is brave because it's so hot. But honestly, if you wear some breathable clothes and you take water and lots of snacks with you, keep your blood sugar going, it's totally fine. This year, I'll be going for the opening week, which I've never done before. And as you can probably hear from everything I talked about in terms of like how busy and crazy it is, I'm really excited to experience the energy of it all. And here's the thing about opportunities like this fellowship. They're rare. They're the kind of thing that can reshape your understanding of what's possible in an arts career. You're not just visiting the Biennale as a tourist. You're working inside it. You're learning from it, you're contributing to it. You're building relationships with British Council staff, with other fellows, with artists and curators. You're developing a research project that could become the foundation of your practice for years to come. If this sounds like something you want, and if your heart is racing a little bit right now, you're getting a bit excited, I really encourage you to seriously consider applying. Join NextGen if you haven't already, and throw your hat in the ring. And to everyone listening, whether you're early career or established, whether you're interested in applying for the fellowship, or whether you're going to the opening week, or you're just going to go to the Biennale at some point next year, keep supporting emerging talent. Keep opening doors. Keep remembering what it felt like when you were starting out and someone took a chance on you. That's it for today on All About Art. As always, thank you so much for listening. And that is it for today on All About Art. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave me a rating or a review, as it helps more people discover the show. Also, feel free to share with your friends, or if you share on social media, tag me and get in touch. Thank you so much for listening.